For me, it really depends because I've been shooting music videos in the hood, so I really need to basically adopt myself to become a black person. So for
Oh my god, so who is actually the best? Black people or white people? Hey guys, I hope everybody's doing well. Faceless here. Today I'll be giving my reaction on Jubilee's video, what do black people think about white people? There we go. Do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel and tell me what you think in the comment section once you're done watching it. Enjoy.
I act differently around people who aren't my race.
I think the most important thing is just to authentically be yourself, and I don't think being around people who don't look like you should be a reason for you to act any different.
Yeah, for me, I guess it's like within the confines of like the workforce.
I was thinking code switching.
Because if you show up to a meeting talking like this, they're like, uneducated, got it.
But I think that when you go to work, you're not supposed to actually use slang words. It doesn't matter if you're even working at Wendy's. I mean, you have to be polite. Hi, hello, how are you? Can I have you? What can I do? And what can I do for you today? You know, you have to keep it polite. You know, you can't just come like, yeah, what you want. You know, I don't think that's actually right. So yeah, I think that if you are like a certain way when you get to work, even for people to understand what you're saying, you have to change yourself a little bit. You have to be professional. And I think professionalism comes with not talking as if you were on the street and not reacting like if, you know, you were at the Jay-Z concert or something like that.
Like, I feel like code switching is one part, but also like there's certain parts in my own community that aren't accepted, that when I'm around different people that look like me, I can express myself differently. Like, I feel like if I talk a little proper, sometimes I get a little slack for it from my side of the family. But
I think that is crazy though. I know that unfortunately some people do that. Like if you, sometimes people, when you talk a certain way, people will be like, yeah, why are you trying to be white? No, talking proper does not make you white or black, by the way.
But when I go out into the world, sometimes I like EDC, I like tech music, I like, you know what I'm saying?
See, for me, I feel like it has nothing to do with race. It more has to do with just being professional. Like if I'm at work, I'm obviously gonna be a little more proper, you know, a little bit less slang and all of that, and just more careful with my rhetoric. But I don't think it has to do with race. The only thing I will say is like I work in political media, so I'm on camera a lot.
I agree with Xavier. I've seen him quite a lot. I know that he's like a conservative person. I didn't know that he was a public person, but I agree. You have to be professional, and professional comes with being more polite than you are when you're outside the workspace. If you're inside the workplace, you have to be more professional, more polite, more proper. That's actually, to me, that's actually makes sense a lot.
So sometimes I have to feel it out like, are these people who are just gonna call me an Uncle Tom? Or are these people like I can actually just keep it all the way real with? So that's the only time I feel like I act different.
By way of people of specific races speaking a certain way or being perceived a certain way, it tends to be more often than not rooted in race, based off of like urban Black Americans.
Yeah.
For me, it really depends because I've been shooting music videos in the hood, so I really need to basically adopt myself to become a black person. So for
What did he say? Wait a minute.
I've been shooting music videos in the hood, so I really need to basically adopt myself to become a black person.
Oh, Jesus. When he said that, look at the face of my sister here. She's like, what are you talking about? Oh my God. Look at the sister's face, for God's sake. She went like,
For me, it's not a problem like meeting new races. I always like vibe and chill with people.
Do you think adapting yourself to those different ethnicities is like something that's required to foster like a successful relationship?
Like, I would say it's really more for your survival because, you know, like if you are the only white guy on set and like there's like people with like guns and stuff, and you know, you just really need to like fit in and just be chill with it.
You're from the Ukraine, right? Do you feel like not having grown up with American culture as a whole, and then especially not growing up with our subcultures, do you feel like that's influenced the way you move when you're moving between our subcultures?
My mentality is kind of mixed because from the age of 13, I really started to learn English. From that, I really learned a lot. I really got the American mentality more. And basically my mentality is mixed because in Ukraine, if we see a black person, we call them the N-word. And from our side, it's not offensive. We say it not from a offensive way, but some people can because, you don't see a black person there.
I can understand that.
Yeah, we're going to come back on that because that word is, to me, not offensive. I think depending of how you're using it and what you want to mean from it can be seen as racist. But a word is a word. If somebody is if you take a word, if let's say we're eating bread, bread is bread. We all know what bread is. Loaf of bread, you take it, you put your jam on it, and you eat it. And all of a sudden, somebody comes out with the fact that they want to use bread with a bad connotation behind it. And to me, that's what the N-word was. Obviously, it's way more complicated than that today. It's way more complicated than that, but basically the basic definition of the word just means a black person. Anyway, we'll come back on that in another video.
Personally, not to sound triggered, but I just don't like the notion that you're becoming a black person by pretending to be hood or adopting a hood mentality because not all black
people. I really don't get why people do that. Well, I have friends, white friends that do that, and it comes back to even the N-word because one of my friends, Canadian white dude, he's we actually met each other when 50 Cent was banging, back in the day. Go shorty, it's my birthday. And he loved 50 Cent. He loved 50 Cent. And you remember back then you had this trend where you had the best bowl caps, but they just kept it flat, the front flat, with the big ass sticker just under it or over it, and I hated that trend. I hated it. And this brother loved 50 Cent so much. I mean, you go by a city where the N-word is thrown left, right, center, and it's a cool thing. And that white brother, again, you're cool. To him, it's a word. You say the word, you sing. And to me, if you bang somebody's CD and the person is saying it and you can't sing to the lyrics of that CD, it does not make sense. Because we ask people sometimes to not say a word, but yet we use it. And then when they want to be like us, they want to be cool, they want to be this, they want to be that, we're like, oh, don't be like us, but buy our CDs. It doesn't make sense. But, when people say, to me, you are who you are. Don't try to be, I don't know. It's so weird. You can be the culture, not even try to be, you can be the culture. But I think it's the way he expressed himself, and I think that I don't take it personal because English is not his first language. So clearly, sometimes when it's not the first language, such as your girl right here, you say stuff and you mean it in a certain way, but it comes out in another way. But it comes out a little bit differently. So I don't think that it means it I'm just trying to fit in by pretending, or I just think that he's just trying to fit in, no disrespect.
People are hood, not all black people are ghetto. I understand what you're trying to say, and I don't know if it's a language barrier, so I don't want to come at you like you're saying something racist, but I just really am anti-black people being defined as ghetto and hood because there's a lot of classy black people out there.
Yes, there's a lot of intelligent Afro-Americans out there, and it really depends on where you grew up in.
White people also experience race-based prejudice.
Oh, absolutely. To me, yes. I strongly agree. So let's see what they say.
Since you guys probably don't know, I have lived overseas. I've lived in Asian countries. In Japan, there are certain restaurants and stuff like that that you could walk into. You can see people dining in the restaurant, and they're gonna tell you they're closed just because you're white or you're American. So the idea that white people can't really experience racism kind of contradicts the very definition of the word, because the definition of racism is prejudice based on one's skin color. White people do experience it, but to a different degree.
While I do think that
white people actually definitely get
brothers and sisters in
racism coming
Christ
their way. It's not the same as black people, but
racial-based
definitely I don't
prejudice.
think that people
I don't
should
want
be
to
people
overlook
today
the
should be paying
nuance
for
of
what
that
their
prejudice.
ancestors did.
Because it's
that
not
is
necessarily rooted
completely
in anything
crazy.
systematic or anything that's going to
Because
actually
sometimes people
have
complain
long-term
about yes,
effects,
but if
knock
it
on
was a
wood,
white
that are
person
gonna,
saying
like,
this to a black
debilitate a
person,
race or inhibit
it
their
wouldn't be acceptable.
chances
It's
or
not
possibility
acceptable
of succeeding
because
or
of the
being
history
seen
that it
as
has,
better
and the
than
history that we
POC.
have has
I definitely think
consequences.
it's
Slavery
a
has
non-issue. Racism
consequences.
towards people, especially specifically, I want to like in America. I don't think it's something that needs to be highlighted as an issue that is a constant threat to lives, day-to-day well-being, progress, and success in life in general, because it's not something that's going to inhibit you, and you don't have to walk out your door and think, I'm about to be attacked, like people of color do every single day.
I do agree that white people haven't been put through centuries of hell like black people were, but prejudice towards white people 100% exists. Like whether it's in TV, if it's in movies, like if you watch predominantly black media, there's a lot of roasting towards white people that if it was the other way around, that would never be acceptable today. Then you go on social media like TikTok and you look up white people are bad. You will see videos where they're attacking white people for things that their ancestors did 200 years ago. There are societal benefits at this point for being a person of color, and that those negatively affect white people. Like if you look at affirmative action, diversity quotas in the workplace, all these different things, they lower the bar for black people, but then increase the bar for white people. However, I think where some of the issue comes is because a lot of marginalized groups and people of color back in the day went through so much worse that it's easy for us to discredit the prejudice that white people now deal with today.
Multiple generations have the trauma of slavery still today. So when they're trying to get out of it without, and they're not supposed to shame anybody by trying to get out of it. It's not like black people are supposed to all of a sudden become the master of white people. That definitely not. I completely hate that kind of thinking, because some people are like, oh, this belongs to me. My great grandparents did that. They picked cotton. We built this country. We're better than you. Nah. But I think though, that when people say that white people receive a lot of backlashes and things should not be said to them, it definitely shouldn't. Xavier is saying that DEI hurts white people, and I don't know. It's not, to me, it's not against white people. It does have consequences on white people, on Asian people, and everybody else. But the reality is that some people still have not gotten the chance, because a lot of things are still the consequences of slavery. Yes, even today in 2024. But I think that we should find a way out of this. But I don't know how it would go. If we can find a way out of this, that it's more fair, that everybody who deserves the job gets the job, fine. I do know that unfortunately, if these laws are not there to the number of black people that has to work somewhere, of Asian people that has to work there, I am sure, unfortunately, that some people are no longer going to employ some black folks, some Asian folks, some Arab folks. So that's my little problem with this. But to the point of saying that it hurts white people, nah.
And I will say that black people do deal with prejudice. I think every demographic deals with prejudice. There are racist people everywhere. Like, I just don't think systemic racism is an issue anymore in today's society, but I do think that there are racist people out there.
I think that there's a really important distinction. Our language is constantly evolving, and you were talking about the definition of racism. Our societal definition has changed to include a systemic part of it. And I completely disagree with this idea that people of color don't have systemic things against them still. Because the fact that we still have the KKK, the fact that we still have these things, and they are in positions of power. As long as that exists, and as long as that's a part of our country's like makeup right now, which it is, and that's our power structure, I don't feel like you can honestly deny systemic racism against the black community, which is why prejudice is so different from racism. I don't think white people can experience racism in this country, but we can experience prejudice based on the societal definitions we now use.
Systemic racism. I definitely think that some people are systemic racist. They're not going to try to know who you are. They're going to assume that if you're black, that you're just hood. But to say that, yeah, I think we can't take one person case or small different people to say that this is a general case. Generally, systemic racism is no longer an issue.
Being sexually unattracted to a race is racist.
Actually used to say yes to that sentence back in the day. Now, no. No with the new ones. Because I stopped listening to, what is his name again? John Mayer, when he said he said that his PP was just like a white supremacist. And I was like, And I think it really actually the consequences of that sentence was heavy for his career, because he used to hang out a lot with Dave Chappelle. He was on the Chappelle show. Like, everybody loved her. But when I heard that, I was like, nah. It's not racist to me. That's my opinion before I actually watched all this. It's not racist, but there's just a way to just state it. Because then if you don't like fat people, you're fat phobic. And if you don't want to date a fat person, it doesn't make you fat phobic. That's just your preference. So if you don't want to date outside your race, it's also your preference. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you start going with words like, my PP is like a white supremacist, that way of putting it, nah, that does not fly.
For me, I think that, like, we're talking about conditioning and how we grew up, right? If you go to, like, South Africa, for instance, which within some of our lifetimes had apartheid. If you grow up in that, especially as a black person, where you're constantly being mistreated by every single white person, and you're conditioned to be like, white person, no thank you, I don't think that's racist.
I agree, and I did not grow up in South Africa with apartheid. Yeah. However, like I said, the nickname of my town was Clancy. Like, a lot of my interactions growing up were incredibly racist.
I have been in South Africa, and I have stayed there a couple of months. A couple of years actually, and I've stayed there for a couple of years. And South Africa it's particular because we are now in a place in South Africa where, unfortunately, it is so recent that I think the problem with racism is, even when you don't want to be racist, you're just very careful and have fear of other people. Because in South Africa, there are a couple of rules to protect some black people in power, and they went really like 180. So you had some white people had like everything, that now live in their own hood, that are just being sometimes abused. And yet in that same country, you have cities that are only white people, and black people are not even allowed to enter those cities still today. And I think that is actually crazy. But it's kind of just super. It's very particular living in South Africa. There are some people who don't like anybody else, and I think it's understandable. I was there when the generation of, they called it born free generation, turned 18, and I met a young girl who was like, I'm the first one, and I'm like, what is it? And I'm like, what, you're the first in what? And she was like, well, I'm the first born free person that has majority. And I was like, it hurts. Imagine, I think we take life for granted. I personally do. I've never not been accepted in any places because of my skin color. I know it exists. I know some people definitely. But when you see that some people, not even like, in her case, not even 20 years prior to that, people were still sitting in the back of the bus, and I'm 40, I can't even imagine it. Because when we hear those sort of things, we're like, no, this is like way back. And no, it's really recent. And if yesterday, sorry to say it like that, a white person was allowed to beat me up, to delete me just because, and the next day we are like, yes, let's kumbaya together, it can be awkward for both sides, because The white side doesn't know if the black side wants revenge, and the black side is like, well, I don't know if this person has changed just because laws have changed. So it's hard. I hate talking about racism, but I'm loving this discussion. So let's continue.
And I'm dating a white guy. So I totally get what you mean. I don't want to discredit black people or anyone who's had those kind of situations, because it's not that they're not dating white people. It's definitely, it's more like they're cautious.
I think you used the perfect word earlier. Is it conditioned?
Our black brother from Ukraine was like, yeah, I was switch side a little bit because, you know, I understand the system. Let me switch side. It's just funny when everybody actually switches side, like in the middle of a sentence, they're like, yeah, I gotta go.
Conditioned?
Another one that's just switched side. Oh my god, these people are so funny.
Conditioned or
I was thinking about it on terms of me being a black woman. I feel like it's a lot different when it is a black woman going into dating someone that is not of their race. I can tell you from my experience with dating Hispanic men, white, whatever, they've only seen Jerry Springer and Maury. So it's like they have a whole different idea of what a black woman is. Like before my husband changed a lot, one of the comments made to me was he was afraid of me going to his house with braids in my hair, because then they would assume that I was a different kind of girl instead of looking at me for who I am.
I mean, if people just think that because you're wearing braids, you're hoodie. Anyway, no. But I do think that unfortunately, again, the bad ones are always super loud. You have what is their name? The Cardi B's, the Nicki Minaj, the Sukiana, who are like super dumb, that are really out there. And unfortunately, black people have this thing, like black people is just one person. If a black person does something, like it's representing all of us, unfortunately. Good or bad, by the way. If you have, and it's not that people do us, everybody does it. We do that to ourselves, and other people also see us as one. So, you know, I think that's the difficult part of this, is when we see a black person, we're like, oh my god, people are going to think that we are all raggedy. And if you do something, some people are just going to be like, yeah, oh, black people are like that, you know. And everybody's unique. This is something that doesn't happen in other races. I mean, if you had to check Weinstein and be like what he did, we're not going to say like all white people are like Weinstein, because they're not. And all people are just, everybody's unique. Doesn't matter what race you are, everybody's unique.
I have been denied access because of my race.
I can go anywhere, I can sit down anywhere, and I am not gonna be denied because of how I look. And I would be ignorant to not admit that.
And I'm gonna counter that with, we are justifiably not let into spaces. And our whiteness takes away access to things like powwows. And there's an island in Hawaii that's only for natives, or for like safe spaces for black communities or whatever else. We are justifiably denied access because of our skin.
Period. We love the nuance.
The thing about Hawaii though?
Yeah.
Hawaii is stolen land.
Oh, come on. I think, you know what? I like evolution. I like evolution in the way that where we came, and we have a history that is what it is, that we can't really change. We can try to correct some of the things, but Hawaii belonged to people that are very close to their culture. New Zealand, Australia, a lot of places around the planet have indigenous people who are not looking to change and be in this world of technology, cars, blah. Nope, they're just happy in their forest or whatever. And those people are in all continents. You have that in Africa, you have that again, Australia, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think that it's just right to say, I mean, even I, as a black person, if I want to go there in Africa, I'm talking even around black people, Africa, I want to go in some places that belongs to indigenous people, of course I'm going to be denied. And I understand that they have their ways of doing things. We cannot just go anywhere. If the people, some places in Hawaii deny you, they're not denying you from all the islands, they're denying you because over there they just want to keep it as local as possible. I think that not respecting that, that's a bit weird.
I believe that they have every right to be able to say only we're allowed
Thank you,
to
sister.
go here because that was theirs. It was literally stolen land that was stolen by white people.
Yes. No, but that's why it's justifiably, it's still denied access.
Yeah.
But it is justifiable, 100%. Don't let me in.
it's denied access.
Even like the natives, they have their spaces in America. Why in the world would you even want to go there if you're not invited? Yes, we can be curious, but again, we have to give people their space. Because we know the history, and sometimes just going and push yourself on people, that's awkward.
But like in your day-to-day life, are you being denied access? Like, are you trying to go to that island?
That's a very good question, because we're all looking at this one like, why do you even want to? Why do you want to go there?
Because, like, are you seeking those spaces then?
I'm not necessarily seeking them. If I am already aware that this is like, hey, this is for us, not for you. I'm not gonna show up and be like, yeah, but like.
But you're being
I'm a
weird,
cool
girl.
person.
It's
So
not our places. It's not our space. Why do you want to go there?
But if you're not actively seeking to be part of those circles, you're not being denied access.
I have just one really specific example. Otherwise, I feel like in general, I'm not denied access because of my race, just in my experience. But I had an ex whose stepfather was wildly racist, like Nazi memorabilia, like just insane individual. And I was never allowed over her house because of him. And the one time that I kind of snuck in, he was staring at me through the window. And I'll never forget that in my life, the way that man was staring at me through the window and then cursed out his kids for having me in the house. That man's now in prison for doing God knows what, but it's where he belongs.
That must be a hard relationship to be in. A hard relationship. I don't know if I personally could date somebody who has a very, very, very racist parent. It's just weird.
I was looking for funding for my film, and most of them are for colored people. And
this brother's starting to trip a lot. He's like, I want to be like white. I want to be black. I fit in with black people. Now his movies are about black people. Anyways.
I totally understand that, and there is like not many that I found that are for like everybody. My mind would be like, you know, damn, I cannot do it. Like I cannot apply to it. But from the other side, I understand that the black community, like you guys need to get your movies out there.
If anything, I feel like I've been invited too much. You know, I feel like I'm kind of like an undercover agent where I'm like because I talk a certain way or because I present myself a certain way, they assume like, oh, I could say this in front of you.
100%.
And I'm like, what do you say?
I hate when people do that. I really hate it. I actually have been in that situation quite a lot. Because if you don't speak too much hoodie, you're like some. I had a person told me in Africa, and I just looked at this dude. He was like, yes, people from here, they're so weird, and a European man. And I was like, and he was talking to me like that. Obviously, I am European African in my original country, and I was just looking at him like every day this man would complain about, yeah, I don't like it here. It's not there by force, but he's always complaining about how people are, how this and that. I'm like, one day I actually told him, you know, sir, if you're not happy here, you can go. And he's like, no, but you know what I mean. I'm like, no, and I don't even want to know what you mean, what you think that I should know, that you feel. I'm like, that's just not right. Those are not sentences that you should say. And I think that when people tell that to other people, they should really be careful, because I mean, that is just bad. It's just bad. There's no way this can look good. Like, even if you're like, well, you understand that I mean, no. If you're starting your sentence by you people and you're very being specific and you're saying that every day of your life, there is something wrong with you.
Exactly.
You know, I've never really been.
Now I'll say that too. I've been tokenized so many times.
I'm like, I don't want
we
that.
have to have you here. We need young black representation. And I'm like, yes, I'm gonna stay home.
Yeah.
I am proud of my race.
Who?
3, 2, 1.
Oh my God, that's a question. You know what? Quick and simple. I think everybody should be proud of who they are. But I'm curious to see what they're gonna say.
I will go first, and I will stand 10 toes in.
I was just being ironic to stand over there.
Okay, baby.
This one, Xavier. I didn't know that you had jokes. All right, so right now there are 3 white folks on Strongly Disagree that believe that they should be proud of their race. That is just sad. That is like super sad. It's sad. The only one that is actually standing on Strongly Agree is the Ukrainian. Anyway, let's just listen to what they're going to say first.
Please no. I'm here. I cried a little bit.
I think that, like, and I'll just keep it specific to my experience and what I know. As Black Americans, we're pretty much the top culture that gets replicated, referenced. People scoot in and scoot out because they want to seem cool and interesting and stuff. And I think that that's so kind of us to like kind of like be beaten down for so long and be kind of separated from our African roots, create names for ourselves, culture, language around our identities as Black Americans, and have that be a thing that's just reverberating across the globe. I think that's so cute, can never be replicated, can never be understated, and I love that about it.
Now, Black Americans they're cool. They're really cool. Like, I don't know, there is a magic. I'm actually getting a little emotional. There is a magic about Black Americans. These are people who were stripped of their culture, created their own foundation. They created their own roots, their own foundation, their own roots. They're growing their tree. They are recreated their culture. Do I think that calling everybody Laquisha, Tanisha, do I think that's cool? No. But I definitely think that they are inspirational. I don't know if they realize how much they did even for Africa. Because their strength is definitely contagious. A lot of African people speak up today because of Black Americans. Like, seriously, the cool part of Black Americans is just cool. Love it.
Sort of my thought process too, just the basis of being torn down so adamantly, so regularly for hundreds of years in law even, it is insane that we are here today to even be on camera, to even be in a place with other white people. It is a beautiful thing that we have been able to.
A super beautiful thing. I'm still emotional, God, I don't know. I have to, but it's incredible. I think about women not even 50 years ago, 60 years ago, who were not allowed to work. I think about Black people who had to sit in the front of us. And today, we can just sit together, we can laugh together, we can have conversation together, we can agree to disagree, we can even agree to disagree on how we hate each other. That's crazy. And it is beautiful. I think this video, by the way, Jubilee, beautiful. I would have loved if they had gone and take people like Charleston White. I don't know how this, crazy sort of extreme people to put in this, but not in this video. This video is perfect as it is. People are just respectful and all. But I would have loved to definitely see people a bit more extreme coming and having the same questions, because I think that can even teach everybody how to get along. And sometimes people are just fearful because they don't know another group of person. And I love, my dad always says that thing, there is no right culture, no wrong culture. Everybody's going to say, yes, my culture is the best, my country is the best, my this is the best. But there are good things everywhere, as there are less good things everywhere. And we just need to learn from each other. So I'm loving this video. Go watch it. Go give it a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's continue.
To flourish in such dirt, literal filth and grime that our ancestors had to go through, and even our grandparents had to go through. In my 8th grade yearbook I saw recently, it said, the South will rise again. And this was 2015. So this is such a day-to-day thing, and I am proud to be Black, and it's hard to say that. It was hard to say that as a kid, or else I could be called the N-word, I could be reprimanded. And I feel so blessed to even be able to think that.
Everybody needs to be proud of their race and stop this like racist bullshit, because like you could be green, red, black, white, Hispanic, like it doesn't matter.
I agree.
It doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter. It's not, to me, it's not even that you should be proud. You should not even be proud of your skin color. You should be proud of you. You should be proud of who you are, because there's just one you. You didn't ask to be born or anything. You should just be you.
With like what you're saying, because my own personal belief is that at the basis of who we are is that we're all just people. We're not a skin tone. But because of those before me, I now have to fight back against the idea that all white people are racist. I remember being in 4th grade and learning about the Holocaust for the first time and saying, I don't want to be German anymore. Meanwhile, my mother's whole family is German. American history, you look at things like slavery, you look at things like Jim Crow laws, segregation. There is so much awful stuff that has happened and is still happening in closeted ways that I cannot be proud of the way that I look.
Sarah, if you ever watch this, I'll try to find you and tag you on my video. I don't think that people should take that weight, that much weight on their shoulders. There are out there some white, unfortunately racist people, but what happened has happened. We can't change that. We shouldn't live in that. And when she's talking about like the and I remember when we got to that chapter at school, and when we had to talk about World War II, and even from when we were little and we were like some few Germans that were in our school, we used to be like, those people, the Hitler people, you know. It took me to fall in love the first time and that person was German to be like, yeah, people, you know, people are just cool. Not everybody's racist. Not everybody should be seen as racist. Not people should be judged by their past. Things have happened. People should not try to have that weight and be like, everybody, just be you. A lot of people are never going to say that, oh, white people are racist, because it's not true. I think that unfortunately some people pass that hate and that notion to their kids, and that's what it is, because you're not born racist. But if your parents especially can pass you that hate and you accept it and you live it, then unfortunately, you know, you become racist. But taking the weight for a couple of people that are, that's, I'm sure it's not even healthy. Everybody should be just proud of who they are. Their skin color, the way of living, the this and that. There's some things in life you can't change. You can't change your height, you can't change your skin color. So it is what it is. You get what you get. You don't even have to be proud of it. It is what it is. It's just you.
Yeah, for me, like, I am proud of who I am, like who I grew up to be, like I like who I am. But like, if I were to say I'm a proud white man, like I don't even know what that means. Like, there have been 0 racial hurdles in my life.
I don't know why they're laughing about that. Because I definitely think that you can say it. Like if somebody would tell me I'm a proud white man, I wouldn't laugh. It wouldn't shock me. I'd be like, and you know, for me that's not an issue, like at all. People should be proud of who they are. We got the skin that we got. We should be grateful about it. And that's it. Because it's not because somebody doesn't like you saying that your skin color is going to change. It's just a skin color. If it can protect you from diseases and stuff, then it's good. It's not a problem. It's just good.
Now, like, I'm a proud gay man because like I've had to go through shit to get to where I am now. And you know, even to that point, so much of queer culture comes from black culture, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I think that there's a really big difference between being proud to be black and being proud to be white. So being proud of your culture, beautiful thing. Like be proud to be Ukrainian. I'm proud to be Slavic. The black community is different, and the reason it's different is because their culture, specifically black Americans, their culture was stripped away from them when they were brought over here. So then the culture became being black American. The race became cultural.
I mixed that up.
So
Sorry about the hate.
Yeah, but so I think that there's a really big difference between like I am proud of my people are Slavic versus I am proud of my race. It just gets convoluted because black Americans, the race has become the culture because the culture was stripped away.
I also think oftentimes when you talk about white pride versus black pride, oftentimes black pride is rooted in like love and like perseverance of like culture, customs, language, and things like that. And white pride is often rooted in like black hate, Latin hate, Asian hate. So I think that's like an interesting nuance to not overlook.
No, and I think that's such an important point. I think there's a difference between like, I'm proud and therefore I'm better.
It's true that some people take it like that. And I think that in everything these days, unfortunately, even like when people say something, life matters, and people are, for me, no. Like, we have to take sentences as they are. If somebody says, I'm a proud white person, good. Why do you want to say, oh my God, you don't like black people? It's so, sometimes like, I don't even want to kill this video because this has been such a beautiful conversation that these people have had. But I definitely think that people are intelligent enough to express themselves. And yes, you have sometimes a little problem here and there with language barrier. But white proud doesn't mean hitting everybody else. Not today. If it had been at a certain point of time, maybe, but not today. I think people should be happy of who they are. We get what we get. If you're born white, be happy to be white. If you're born black, be happy to be black. It doesn't actually give you the character of being a black person. You can be a black person and go like Jamaran crazy and want to have like a hood behavior. And you can be a black person and be like, oh, I want to be more assertive. I want to be more polished. I want to be more this. I want to be more that. It's not that it makes you more black or less black. And I think for the white community, it just makes you. If you want to have this sort of character and this sort of character, being a hood character doesn't mean being black. I know a lot of white people that like having this hood behavior thing, and it doesn't make them black people. So, you know, I really enjoyed this conversation actually, because I love the fact that they are open, they're kind, they are truthful. I hate the last stand a little bit that we're having here, because I am proud of my race, and you see 3 white people disagreeing with the sentence. That makes me a little sad. But you know what? I don't think that at first I'm sure that a lot of white people were not going to disagree with this. But I definitely think that everybody should be proud of who they are, because life is not about a skin color. Life is about making yourself a better person every day and going forward.
The whole idea of white pride started with people who think the Confederate flag is a personality trait. So how can I be proud of that?
I'm not saying that this applies to any of you, but I meet a lot of white people, particularly white liberals, who will actively say that they're ashamed of being white. And that is wild to me, because how can you look at your past, and because yes, your race did terrible things in the past, but you shouldn't define yourself as that. If anything, you should look at that and reflect.
So do you think
Xavier,
white people should
I've already
be proud
said
to
that.
be specifically white?
See, I think that's a really nuanced question when you're white, because I think you guys had the valid point of ethnicity is different, because like white isn't a collective culture in the way that black is, because black people have been grouped together and have a similar experience. But like white, like Italian American.
And I don't agree with that either. I'm not really going to talk about like black Americans, because obviously I'm not a black American born in Africa, no. But I do believe that even that being grouped together, but people are really different. I mean, before, if you had to say that, I remember like the Condoleezza Rice's, and when she was like Republican, I remember back from Africa, I was like, oh, how can you not like yourself? It means like the white people kind of things, and you don't like black people. And I know that Condoleezza Rice, she didn't get it easy, especially from the people down in Africa. They were like, oh, she's a sellout. But you know, I think overall, we group us together, but there's a lot of different mentality also within the black community.
You should definitely be proud of being Italian American. You should be proud of being Slavic American. You should be proud of your lineage. But just to say, oh, I'm proud to be white, like, yeah, that has a weird connotation to it because it's not a collective culture. But what I really want to emphasize is that you should not be ashamed of being white in the way that a lot of people are.
Yeah.
Or maybe you should.
Okay.
Maybe you should.
Okay.
This one. Look at him. Oh, look at him. Throwing a little shade, you know.
You probably
At that point, it's on you.
I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. Yeah, go watch the video. Go give Jubilee a like and subscribe. They completely worth it. This is probably one of the best videos that I've seen I've seen from them. Unfortunately, doesn't have a lot of views, surprisingly, but I'm really loving this. This is great. I think conversation like this are conversation that grow people, are conversation that make sure that we don't think that people are a certain way when everybody can actually be a better version of themselves, learn about somebody else, all of these things. So definitely love that. Tell me what you think in the comment section. Do not forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in another one. Take care of yourself. Peace out. Ciao, ciao.